أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد أشرف المرسلين وعلى صحبه أجمعين ومن اتبع لسنته إلى يوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته يا أيها الإخوة والأخوات. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. I greet you with the greeting of Islam, which is to say, may the peace and blessings of Allah Almighty be upon you. After that, we invoke peace and blessings upon His Messenger Muhammad ibn Abdullah, the last of the messengers, and upon his companions, and upon his family, and upon all those who follow him in excellence until the day of judgment. Now, as to what follows, we return to our lessons of Mukhtasar al-Akhdari, the abridgment of Imam al-Akhdari in morals, purification, and prayer. This being the 8th iteration of our lessons. We are still in the section that deals with that which is haram and halal upon a mukallaf, upon a legally responsible person in terms of their behavior. In the last lesson, he had told us about it being wajib upon the mukallaf that ya'muru bil ma'ruf wa yanha 'anil munkar, that he commands people towards goodness and then he prohibits them from doing evil. And then we said that there was 4 conditions of that. We said the first one is al-ikhlas, which is sincerity. We said that the second one is al-ilm, which is knowledge. We said the third one is as-sabr, which is patience. And we said the fourth one is al-rifq, which is kindness and gentleness and humility in the people that he's reminding towards good or prohibiting from evil. Inshallah, we continue with that same theme today as we follow along in the book. Imam al-Akhdari, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, he says, وَيَحْرُمُ عَلَيْهِ الْكَذِبُ. He said it's haram, meaning it's forbidden upon the mukallaf that he lies. That he lies. To lie is to inform or to speak about a thing in a way that is in contradiction to the actuality of that thing, while knowing that this is not the case. So it's to knowingly state something that you know is the opposite or misaligned with what you say. You understand? So for example, you and a person get into a fight that you initiate, and the police comes and they say, who started this fight? And you say, he started it, he hit me first, when that's not the case. That's known as a lie. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he outlined very specific instances in which a person can tell a lie. One of which is that if it's to save the life of a person from danger. So you know that a group of people, they're coming to kill someone, they're coming to harm someone, and you have that person hidden in your house, and they say, do you know where such and such is? And you say, I don't know. In that situation, that lie is not only permissible, that lie is obligatory, because it's to save the life of a person. Likewise, he permitted small lies in the case of causing peace. You understand? In the case of causing peace. So 2 groups of people are about to kill each other, right? And you come to one and you say, oh, this person, he didn't mean what he said. He apologized. And then you go to the other one and say, no, this guy, he didn't mean what he said. He apologized. You do so for the sake of islah, for rectification, then that type of lie is also permissible. And the third one is those little playful lies that a man tells his wife, you understand? For the sake of joking, for the sake of breeding love, you understand? But outside of that, for a person to sit there and say to another person something that he knows to not be the case, that is called al-kadhib or al-kadhib. Al-kadhib, it's a major sin to be a liar. Lying is a major sin in Islam. You understand? The Prophet ﷺ, he said that lying leads to wickedness, and wickedness leads to disbelief, and disbelief leads to the hellfire. So lying, once a person gets into the habit of lying and saying things that are not true, what it ultimately does, it takes them towards the path of disbelief. You understand? Because it becomes their habit. The Prophet ﷺ says a person continues to lie and lie and lie and lie until he's written with Allah as a liar. So that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks towards him, the angels look towards him, and the creation looks towards him as someone that's just a liar. So lying is something that's a major sin. He said it's also haram for the mu'min, for the believer, that he engages in what's known as al-ghiba. Ghiba is what's known as backbiting. In English, we call it backbiting. Backbiting is to say something about someone behind their back that you know they dislike. that they would dislike if they heard it, even if that thing is true. The Prophet, the Quran, I should say, in Surah Al-Hujurat, in the 49th Surah, it compares backbiting to biting the flesh of your dead brother. That's a very abominable thing. Who would like to see their sibling dead, cold, unable to move, about to be buried, and then you bend down and you take a piece out of their flesh? That would be something that it's not only disgusting, but you wouldn't like that to be done to your brother or your sister. So the Prophet ﷺ, he compares it to that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala compares it to that. You understand? And backbiting is with respect to something that a person might actually have. A person could be quote unquote ugly, and you say behind their back, this person is ugly. And then you say, well, oh, I didn't lie. But even though you didn't lie, you still backbit the person. Because the person, if they were to be there and you said that to them, they wouldn't like it, even though it's true. You understand? Now, if you lie about them, then it's called slander. To make up lies about someone behind their back is what's known as slander. You understand? He said it's also impermissible for the mukallaf to engage in what's known as al-namima. Al-namima is what's known as tale carrying. What we can say in English is tattletelling. But tattletelling between two parties, carrying tales means to go between A and B. You tell A, B doesn't like you. You tell B, A doesn't like you. You go back and forth, and you're carrying tales for the purpose of spreading fitna. You're not doing so for the purpose of rectification. You understand? That is also something that is haram. You understand? Now, and he goes on to other things that are haram. He says it's also haram for the mukallaf to engage in what's known as kibr. Kibr is what's known as arrogance and vanity. Arrogance is that you look at other people and you have a disdain for them, and you hate to hear the truth. You see yourself as being better than them. You know, to be proud and vain and to walk as though you own the earth. It's the opposite of humility. This is also a major sin. The Prophet ﷺ said that anyone who has a grained seed, a small seed's worth of kibr, of pride, will not enter the paradise. He says also it's haram to have al-ujub. Al-ujub is to see yourself, to be impressed with yourself, to be in amazement with yourself, to be in self-amazement with yourself, to be like, man, I'm the most beautiful person, I'm the smartest person. You know, to see yourself in a deluded state of self-amazement. Because first and foremost, even if you have these positive traits, you didn't give them to yourself. You didn't create yourself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made you. If you wanted, He could have made you less than intelligent. If He wanted, He could have made you less than beautiful. If He wanted, He could have made you short. He could have made you something other than what you are that you're amazed about. And secondly, even though you have these traits, it doesn't make you essentially better than other people. This is something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has beautified your external body with. But a person that's less beautiful than you, that's not as smart as you, that's not as wealthy as you, that person, or not even as religious as you, that person could be better in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said it's also haram for the mukallaf to have or to engage in what's known as ar-riya. Ar-riya is to do actions so that people can see you doing those actions. It's religious actions. You understand? It's that you do religious actions for the sake that people for the sake of people seeing you. So whenever people come, you see that you're praying by yourself, and then all of a sudden you come across someone, or you see someone that is coming into the masjid, and then you make your recitation so beautiful because you want that person to say that, oh, such and such is such a beautiful reciter. That's your sole objective, you know. So you basically perform actions so that people can see you performing those actions. He says, was sum'ah, it's also haram to engage in what's known as sum'ah. Sum'ah is ostentatiousness, but in the sense of the ears. So ar-riya is in the sense of eyes. So you do things so that people can hear you saying it, so people can hear about you. You know, so your name can ring, as they say. You know, the Greeks used to be obsessed with this. You know, there's a famous scene in the movie Troy, where Achilles, he goes to fight. What's the big guy's name? I think is Bogadus or Bulgarius. And then there's a little boy that's giving him his armor. He says to him, oh, I would be so scared to fight Bulgarius. And then Achilles tells the little boy, he says, that's why no one will ever know of your name. So Achilles, for him, the entirety of what he's doing is so people can hear his name. They can say Achilles was the greatest warrior that ever lived. So likewise, within the context of the deen of the religion, that you perform actions so people can say, oh, this person is knowledgeable, this person is this. You want people to sing your praises. They can hear about you and sing your praises. This is something that's haram to do. If they end up hearing about you and they end up praising you, that's not haram. But it's the act of doing your actions for the sake of people hearing about you that is impermissible. Well, hasad, it's also impermissible for the mukallaf to have hasad. Hasad is what they call envy. Envy is what we mean by envy is that a person, not only do you see something that you like about another person, but you also have the desire that that blessing be stripped from that person. This is what's known as hasad. And the Prophet ﷺ said that it burns up good deeds in the same way that wood burns up, or fire burns up wood. So a person that's a hasad, he ends up not having any of these deeds. And then what he wants to happen is not going to happen. It's as though you're saying to Allah, the way that you divided things is unfair. I don't like the way that you've done things. Because it's Allah that gave the person the blessing. So you're saying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I don't like the way that you've divided your blessings amongst your servants. And this is a major, major sin. He says here, wal bughd. Bughd here is just hatred. To hate people for a reason that's not permissible in the Sharia. And for example, the way that racists, they hate other races, right? The way that white people, they used to hate black people for no other reason than their skin was black. This is known as bughd. It's just hatred. You understand? Another word for bughd is also al-hiqd. Because sometimes bughd can be justified hatred, but you know, sometimes they use the same word for to mean like a hatred that's unjustified. Understand? So inshallah we'll review. He says وَيَحْرُمَ عَلَيْهِ الْكَذِبِ, that it's haram for the mukallaf, for the legally responsible person, that he engages in lying. You understand? That he knowingly tells things in contradiction to the way that they really are. وَالْغِيبَةِ, it's haram for him to engage in backbiting, meaning that he says things about someone behind his back that that person would dislike if they were to hear it. وَالنَّمِيمَةِ, and it's also haram for him to engage in tale carrying, meaning going from one person to another person in a manner that seeks to sow anonymity between those two people. And it's also haram for him to engage in what's known as kibr, meaning that he has pride, arrogance. I don't mean that you take pride in your appearance or that you want to look good or that you want to smell good. No, pride is that you see yourself as better than other people, and that you dislike when people tell you the truth because you see yourself as being above it. It's also haram for him to have al-ujub, to be self-amazed, to be vain. It's vanity. That's the best way to say it. Al-ujub is vanity, self-amazement. You understand? To see yourself as the center of everything and to be so enamored with yourself and your traits. War-riya, it's also haram for him to be engaged in what's known as ar-riya, which is, how do you call it? Which is to ostentatiousness, religious ostentatiousness, doing things so that people see you doing it. You understand? Teaching and giving sadaqah and do whatever it is that you're doing it so that people can see you doing it, and they can say that, oh, you're this person, you're that. Was-sum'ah, likewise, it's ostentatiousness for the people, but they translate it as bragging, but it's not necessarily bragging, but it's doing things so that people can hear it. You understand? So that people can hear it. Now, it can also be at your own tongue. You know, you're like, I did such and such, I did such and such, I was the one that did such and such, you know? This is something that's haram. Wal hasad, it's haram to have envy, to be an envious person, to be in such a state that you desire that the blessings that Allah has given other people, that they be stripped of them, even if you don't receive them. That's called hasad. Wal bughd, it's also haram to have unreasonable and irrational hatred of people for a reason that they can't control or for a reason that has no basis in the sacred law of Islam. So, Jazakumullah khair. May Allah reward all of you guys, inshallah. That will mark our lesson for today.